Hello, bros. We're about to start a new book against my better rationale, but there we go. Hilda Lewis, The Witch and the Priest, a novel based on the true story of Joan Flower, the infamous 17th century witch. If you visit the ancient parish church of Botsford in Leicestershire, England, you will find inscribed there a record of the events related to in this engrossing tale of long ago. The story concerns Joan Flower, a notorious witch of exotic appearance, who in life cast off God and in death denied the devil, closing the gates of both heaven and hell to herself. Hilda Lewis tells how Joan, whose evil became notorious, enmeshed her daughters in her unearthly schemes, finally using them in her campaign of revenge against the Earl and Countess of Rutland, whom she was determined to harm by occult means, and whose two young sons she finally destroyed. The Earl's tomb is the only one in England carrying an allegation that the heirs to an estate were killed by witchcraft. As this dark story unfolds against the bright background of life in castle and village, Mrs. Lewis recreates a time when midnight hags set the ministers of hell to work. Let's read the back flap if there is any info on the back flap. Hilda Lewis lives in Nottingham, England, where her husband is Emeritus Professor of Education at Nottingham University. She has written a number of historical novels, including the recent Wife to the Bastard, David McKay Company, Witch and the Priest, David McKay Company, Inc., New York. The Witch and the Priest. All rights reserved, including the right to reproduce this book or blah, blah, blah. First American edition, 1970. For Alfred T.G. Blackmore. Foreword. In 1618, Margaret and Philippa Flower were tried at Lincoln for witchcraft. On their own confession, they were found guilty and hanged. The witchcraft tomb in the Church of St. Mary at Botsford in Leicestershire, I'm not sure how you say it, still bears witness to their deeds. An account of their trial is to be found in a pamphlet entitled The Wonderful Discovery of the Witchcrafts of Margaret and Philip Flower, daughters of Joan Flower, near Bever Castle, executed at Lincoln, March the 11th, 1618, who were specially arranged and condemned before Sir Henry Hobart and Sir Edward Bromley, judges of Assize, for confessing themselves actors in the destruction of Henry Lord Rossi, with their damnable practices against others, the children of the Right Honourable Francis, Earl of Rutland, together with the several examinations and confessions of Anne Baker, Joan Willamot, and Ellen Green, witches, in Leicestershire, printed at London by G. Eld and J. Barnes, dwelling in the Long Walk near Christchurch, 1619. The casting of the spells as described in this book follows their confessions, and the celebrations of the witches' Sabbath are described in the confessions of witches throughout Christendom. Whether the casting of these spells actually brought about the desired end, whether the witches actually flew or drugs lent them the illusion of flying, does not matter. What matters is that the witches themselves believed in their supernatural powers, and so the dark tale unfolds according to its own dark laws. The law against witches does not prove that there be any, but it punishes the malice of those people that use such means to take away men's lives. If one should profess that by turning his hat thrice and crying out, "Booze, buzz," he could take away a man's life, though in truth he could do no such thing, yet this were a just law made by the state, that whoever should turn his hat thrice and cry out, does that say buzz, B-U-Z, buzz, with the intention to take away a man's life shall be put to death. John Selden, 1584 to 1654, The Table Talk. The land is full of witches. I have hanged 25 of them. They have on their bodies divers strange marks, at which at some of them have confessed the devil sucks their blood, for they have forsworn God, renounced their baptism, and vowed their services to the devil. Sir Edmund Anderson, Lord Chief Justice, 1530 to 1605. And let's take a look at the boards. Pretty boring board covers. Obviously an ex-library book, as are many of the copies I've seen online for sale that were vintage. And of course there is a pocket in the back, since this was from the 70s. Property of Walled Lake Schools. Consolidated Schools, I assume it says. EL 5489. Or is it E15? Whichever it is. That's the end of this foreword. Goodbye, bruv. Goodbye.